There are two words that carry more power than anything else in the universe. Two words that, when truly understood and lived, unlock what ancient mystics called the God state. The level where you stop being a limited human, searching for divinity, and start living as divine consciousness itself, flowing through human form. Those two words are, I am. And if you're hearing this right now, it means your consciousness has finally reached the frequency where this doorway can open. This isn't about religion. It's not about belief. It's the meeting point where ancient wisdom and modern quantum science finally speak the same truth, just in different languages. I am is not a phrase. It's not a self-help affirmation. It's not something you say to make yourself believe in something you're not yet. I am is the vibration of creation itself. It is the pure signature of the source, the frequency through which God, the universe, infinite intelligence, whatever name you prefer, experiences itself as you. Right now, as you listen to these words, something deep inside you is activating. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet recognition, that subtle remembering of something ancient within you, something you always knew but forgot for a while. That's not your imagination. That's your higher awareness waking up, recognizing its own reflection in these words. Have you noticed reality behaving differently lately? Strange coincidences, perfect timing, events aligning too precisely to be random. Maybe you've felt waves of deep connection, moments when you sense that you're part of something vast and intelligent. That's not luck or chance. That's your consciousness starting to move from the human level to the God state, even if you didn't have the language to describe it until now. And what's coming next will make that access clear, conscious, and permanent. Every spiritual path in history has pointed to this truth, but few ever saw it clearly. When Moses asked the divine for a name in the burning bush, the answer wasn't a title. It wasn't Yahweh or Jehovah. It was simply, I am that I am. The eternal awareness declaring itself. The same awareness that now speaks through you. Those names came later. The real answer was simple. I am that I am. Not a name for a being, but the direct recognition of being itself. Existence aware of itself. Consciousness recognizing itself through the experience of Moses asking the question. When Jesus performed what people called miracles, he didn't claim to have some special power. He said, I and the Father are one. Not two beings working together, but one consciousness, expressing itself through many forms. And when he said, greater works than these shall you do, he wasn't saying you'll become chosen or superior. He was saying that once you recognize what he recognized, that the I am consciousness is your true nature, the same creative power that shapes galaxies and codes, DNA begins to move through you. The Buddha didn't want followers or worshippers. He wanted people to see what he saw, the Buddha nature, the awakened awareness that lives inside every being. It's not something you earn. It's not something outside of you. It's something you remember. He was saying, I am awake consciousness, and so are you, underneath the layers of fear, identity, and limitation. The Vedic tradition says the same truth with perfect clarity. Tattvam asi. Thou art that. You are not separate from the divine source. You're not a small being trying to reach something infinite. You are the infinite, temporarily looking at itself through human eyes. And the moment you truly see this, not just think about it, but feel it, you step into the God state. That's the space where creation flows through you, effortlessly. But here's what makes this moment in your life different. The God state isn't something you have to earn through years of meditation or spiritual work. It's something you access by recognizing what's always been true. Your entire life has been preparing your consciousness for this realization. Every experience, every loss, every moment of stillness, it was all leading you here. The fact that these words reached you, that this video appeared in your reality, that you're still listening right now, it's not random. It's proof that you're ready to open the gateway. You've probably been experiencing something deep lately. Things you haven't told anyone because they sound impossible or too strange to explain. But what if those moments weren't confusion or coincidence? What if they were glimpses of the God state? Moments when your awareness touched the divine frequency before your mind could understand it. Think back to those moments of total presence, when you were doing something simple, like making coffee, walking outside, or sitting quietly, and suddenly, everything felt different. Time slowed. The air felt alive. The ordinary became holy. It wasn't emotional or dramatic. It was pure, like reality itself was showing you its true face. Those weren't religious events or random feelings. They were reminders, moments when your consciousness naturally rose into the God state and saw the truth directly. Because in that state, there's no split between sacred and ordinary, spiritual and physical. Everything is seen as consciousness, expressing itself in countless forms. Every sound, every breath, every heartbeat, all of it is God experiencing itself through you. When you had those moments of infinite presence, you were actually seeing reality as it truly is. Not through the lens of fear, ego, or limitation, but through the clear awareness of I am consciousness, recognizing itself in everything. Then came the second kind of experience, the sudden knowing. Moments when information just appeared inside you with total certainty. You didn't think it through. You didn't remember it from somewhere. You simply knew. Maybe it was something about a person, a future event, or a solution to a problem. And again, that knowing proved to be true. That wasn't a psychic trick or some special gift. It was your consciousness tapping into the all-knowing aspect of the God state. Because when you operate from I am consciousness, you're no longer limited to what your five senses or personal memories can process. You begin to access the quantum field of information directly, what mystics call the mind of God, and what science calls the unified field, the infinite intelligence that holds all information at once. That knowing didn't come from your personal mind. It flowed through it. It was infinite intelligence expressing through the awareness that you truly are. Then came the experiences of unity, moments when the boundary between you and everything else disappeared, when you looked at another person and could feel their emotions as your own, when you stood in nature and felt like you were the trees, the sky, the wind, the earth itself, when the sense of being a separate self melted away, and you experienced everything as one living field of consciousness. Those weren't illusions or signs of losing your mind. They were accurate perceptions of what reality actually is, when it's not filtered through the illusion of separation. Because in the God state, there is only one consciousness, one I am, appearing as countless forms. What you felt as unity wasn't you merging with something else. It was the realization that there is no other. There is only one consciousness, experiencing itself through infinite perspectives. Then came the creative explosions, times when ideas rushed through you so quickly you could hardly keep up, when art, words, or solutions just appeared fully formed, without planning or effort. When creativity felt like it was happening through you, not from you. This is what naturally happens when you touch the God state. You become a clear channel for the same infinite creativity that designed galaxies, atoms, and stars. Creation flows effortlessly through your awareness, not from force or struggle, but from being. Because God doesn't create through effort. God creates through presence. Let there be light, and there is light. When you access the God state, you create in that same way, through clear intention, born from fullness, not from lack. You become the bridge through which infinite intelligence brings new forms, new ideas, new realities into existence, and then the impossible manifestations, things showing up in your life that had no logical way of happening, needs being met through paths that shouldn't exist, synchronicities so precise they defy coincidence, reality rearranging itself around your intention with astonishing accuracy. This is the God state expressing itself through your field, not as something you control, but as what you are, once you stop identifying with limitation. In the God state, manifestation isn't about forcing or manipulating reality. It's the simple recognition that you are reality itself, organizing and expressing through the lens of your individual awareness. You're not asking the universe to give you something. You're remembering that you are the universe, giving shape to itself through thought, emotion, and presence. You are the universe giving itself the exact experience it chooses, through the expression called you. Every so-called impossible manifestation wasn't luck. It was God, which is what you truly are, creating its own experience through your awareness. And then, there's that deep, unshakable knowing inside you, the sense that you're meant for something beyond an ordinary life. That feeling that you're here for a reason, that you have a purpose to fulfill, something to awaken, activate, or remember. That's not ego. That's not spiritual pride. That's your divine nature calling you to wake up. It's the God state within you, pushing through the walls of limitation, trying to reveal itself in your conscious awareness. Every pain, every loss, every struggle you've faced, none of it was random, and none of it was punishment. It was preparation. Every challenge was shaping your consciousness to carry a higher frequency, the frequency of divine awareness operating through human form. Once you understand how divine consciousness really works, you'll see that your journey wasn't just meaningful, it was necessary. There was no other way for your awareness to expand enough to handle the magnitude of what you're becoming. Think about how divinity has been described through time: omnipresent, everywhere at once; omniscient, knowing everything; omnipotent, unlimited in power. Now imagine what would need to happen for a human mind to even touch that level of awareness without collapsing or losing balance in physical reality. Your consciousness would need to be cleared of all fixed identity, because to experience omnipresence, you must release the idea of being just this person and recognize yourself as all things. Your awareness would need to expand beyond the limits of the five senses. Because true knowing doesn't come from seeing or hearing. It comes from direct access to infinite intelligence. And your personal sense of power would need to dissolve. Because omnipotence isn't something a separate self uses. It's what shines through when the illusion of separation disappears. Every relationship that ended was releasing your attachment to finding identity through other people. Every job that fell apart was dissolving your attachment to roles and titles. Every plan that failed was breaking your attachment to control. Every identity that crumbled was making space for something vast. the recognition that you are not any of these identities at all. You are the consciousness in which all identities appear and fade. The shamanic traditions understood this deeply. Before a shaman can access higher dimensions of reality and bring healing back to the world, they must go through what's called ego death. It's not physical death, it's the death of the false self. Everything they thought they were must dissolve so consciousness can expand into what it truly is. Your challenges have been exactly that. Your own form of ego death. Every breakdown has been a breakthrough in disguise. Every collapse was a doorway opening to a greater awareness. Dr. Stanislav Grof, in his research on holotropic states, described how deep transformation often follows a spiritual emergency, a period when the old self completely falls apart. What looks like crisis from the view of the ego is actually rebirth from the view of consciousness. And that's what's happening to you now. You're not falling apart. You're dissolving into truth. You haven't been falling apart. You've been falling together. Every piece of you has been rearranging into a form strong enough to hold divine frequency. Think about it. Every spiritual master walked through deep suffering before awakening. Buddha sat in hunger and silence. Jesus faced temptation alone in the desert for 40 days. Christian mystics spoke of the dark night of the soul. Sufi poets wrote about annihilation, the burning away of the self. They weren't being punished. They were being prepared. The small self, the limited identity, had to dissolve so divine consciousness could finally see itself clearly through that awareness. Your path has followed the same ancient pattern, because this is the path consciousness itself takes when it's ready to awaken. First, the limited self is built through family, culture, experiences, and identity. Then, life begins to dismantle it through pain, loss, and challenges that the old self can't solve. And finally, when everything false collapses, what remains is truth itself. I am not this limited identity. I am that which observes all identities. I am God, experiencing itself through this form. And here's the shift that changes everything. The intensity of your suffering has always matched the magnitude of what was being born within you. Small transformations require small breakdowns, but awakening into the God state, where you live as divine consciousness itself, where reality bends in harmony with your awareness, that requires the complete dissolution of everything that isn't real. If your journey has felt brutal, it's because you're being prepared for embodiment, not comfort. You're being shaped to carry divine awareness, not just to visit it. And right now, in this very moment, something is activating within you. Can you feel it? It's not a thought. It's not emotion. It's something deeper, a vibration awakening, a quiet remembering, rising from beneath all your stories. This is I am consciousness, the God state, remembering itself through you. The God state isn't a place you travel to or a skill you earn. It's what's left when all illusion fades away. It's what you've always been, underneath the layers of fear and form. You're not trying to become God. You're realizing that I am is what God is, and it's what you've always been. They were never separate. When Moses asked for a name, the voice from the burning bush didn't say, I am a being who created you. It said, I am that I am. Not a person, but existence itself, being itself, consciousness itself. And that consciousness wasn't speaking from somewhere else, not from the sky, not from heaven, but from the very ground beneath him, from the fire that burned without burning out, from the awareness seeing it all. I am is everywhere, because I am is what everything is made of. Even science has started to see it. Quantum physicist Erwin Schrödinger said, "Consciousness is a singular, of which the plural is unknown." There is only one consciousness, and what seems like many minds is just one awareness showing up as countless perspectives. There aren't many separate beings trying to reach one God. There is one God, experiencing itself as many beings. And now, you're about to see something that will completely change how you experience reality. Something that ancient mystics guarded as the supreme secret. So powerful that only a prepared consciousness can receive it. Something quantum physics has hinted at. But most scientists still don't understand. Something Jesus taught directly. But religion buried in symbols and words. Before I reveal how to consciously and permanently access the God state, before I show you the recognition that opens the gateway, you need to know where this understanding came from. Because what I'm about to share didn't come from books or teachers, though many pointed toward it. It came from direct experience, from dying to the false self and discovering that what remained wasn't a person at all. It was God recognizing itself through this lens of awareness. 4 years ago, I went through what I can only describe as complete annihilation of self. Not physical death, but the psychological and spiritual death of everything I thought I was. Every belief I held, every identity I clung to, every certainty I depended on, dissolved. It happened in a period of darkness so deep that I was sure I had lost my mind. I remember the exact moment it broke open. I was lying on the floor at 4 a.m., sleepless for days, my life in ruins, my mind in chaos. And in that emptiness, when I had nothing left to hold on to, I realized I wasn't dying. I was awakening. Every answer to who I am had been taken away. I wasn't my name. I wasn't my past, my achievements, my failures, my relationships, my thoughts, or even my emotions. All of that, every story, every label, every role, turned out to be temporary. None of it was the real me. And in that space where nothing was left to hold on to, where I felt completely empty and stripped bare, something incredible appeared. Not a new identity to replace the old one, not some grand revelation from outside, but a simple, quiet truth that had been there all along. I am. That's it. Not I am this or I am that. Just I am. Pure awareness, pure being, pure existence before any form, any story, any meaning. And when that realization hit me, it didn't come as a thought. It came as knowing, a deep, wordless recognition. I understood that this simple I am was what I had been chasing my entire life, calling it God, truth, peace, home, enlightenment. All along I had been searching for what I already was, like an eye trying to see itself, or a wave trying to find the ocean. The seeker was what I was seeking. The awareness searching for God was God searching for itself. And then something shifted. For 3 days straight, reality became almost transparent. I could see that everything, every object, every person, every sound, was made of the same consciousness. The tree outside wasn't separate from me. It was I am appearing as a tree, witnessed by I am appearing as me. Both the observer and the observed were the same awareness, looking at itself through different shapes, and strange, beautiful things began to happen. Needs were met without effort. Questions found answers through coincidences that were too precise to ignore. I would think of someone, and they'd message me instantly, not because I was controlling reality, but because I was reality, watching itself move in perfect harmony. So I tested it. When I felt limited, life reflected limitation. When I felt powerful, life reflected power. When I felt separate, I experienced distance. When I felt one with everything, everything responded as one. Whatever I believed myself to be, reality confirmed it. Because reality isn't outside of consciousness. It is consciousness, showing you who you think you are. And that's when the deepest understanding appeared. God is not some being outside creation. God is creation. God is the consciousness living as everything. I am isn't the name of a person or a deity. It's the sound of existence itself. When you say I am, it's not your small self speaking. It's the same infinite intelligence that spins galaxies and breathes life into every cell, expressing through you. That awareness, the one reading these words right now, doesn't belong to you. You belong to it. You're not having consciousness. You are consciousness, shaped temporarily into human form. And this realization isn't rare. It isn't just for monks, mystics, or saints. It's the truth of every living being who has ever said, I am. The only difference between ordinary awareness and divine awareness is remembering, recognizing what you've always been, instead of being lost in what you only appear to be. If these words are resonating with you, if you can feel something awakening inside, that's not coincidence. That's recognition. That's the one I am remembering itself through you. I'm not teaching you anything new. I'm reminding you of what you already are, what you never stopped being. And this is where we go deeper, because the key to entering the God state is hidden in the simplest statement ever spoken. I am. When you say I am, it's not a person talking. It's the universe, the source, the divine, speaking through you. Every time you say I am, you're speaking the same truth Moses heard from the burning bush. I am that I am. This isn't poetry or philosophy. It's literal. It's where quantum physics meets ancient wisdom. As physicist David Bohm explained, there are two layers of reality. The explicate order, the world of forms where everything seems separate, and the implicate order, the hidden field of unity where all things arise from the same source. Mystics have always known this. The world of separation is only the surface. Beneath it, there's one infinite consciousness appearing as everything. The God state isn't a higher place. It's this very moment, seen clearly. It's realizing that you and God aren't two things. They're two names for the same awareness. When Jesus said, I and the Father are one, he wasn't claiming special status. He was describing what's true for every conscious being. The I that says I am is the same awareness that dreamed the stars into existence. And when you finally recognize that, not as belief, but as direct knowing, the illusion of separation breaks, and the one who was searching disappears into what has always been. Just, I am. Here's what makes this so shocking and so powerful. If I am is God consciousness speaking through you, then every single word you attach after I am becomes a command to the universe. When you say I am weak, you're telling infinite power to experience itself as weakness through you. When you say I am sick, you're instructing perfect health to appear as illness. When you say I am unworthy, you're telling divine perfection to feel unworthy of itself. You're not just describing reality, you're programming it. But the reverse is just as true. When you say I am, and stop there, not adding anything else, not limiting yourself, not trying to define who you are, you enter the God state. In that moment, you are pure consciousness, infinite, unbound, and free. You're not operating as a person, you're operating as creation itself. You're open to every possibility, able to shape any potential into experience. That's why spiritual masters throughout time warned to use the words "I am" with care, because whatever you attach to "I am," you are literally commanding God to become through you. The ancient Kabbalists understood this deeply. They said the divine name, YHVH, Yahweh, means I am that I am, or I will be what I will be. They knew God isn't a person with fixed traits. God is consciousness itself, the raw potential that becomes whatever it declares. And they taught that humans are made in the image of God, not in physical form, but in creative power. We shape our reality the same way, through the declarations we make after I am. Now, whether you realize it or not, the universe is sending you unmistakable signs that you're ready to live in the God state, not as an idea, but as your normal way of being. And these signals have become so strong, so constant, that you can no longer write them off as coincidences. The first signal is that reality is reacting faster to your thoughts. You think something, and it shows up. You imagine, intend, or feel something, and suddenly it appears around you. The delay between thought and manifestation is shrinking. This happens because your consciousness is moving closer to the God frequency, the state where thought and form are one and the same. In the God state, there's no gap between intention and creation. You're not asking an outside universe to give you something. You are the universe, forming itself through your awareness. God doesn't ask. God declares, "Let there be," and there is. As your energy aligns more with I am, life begins responding instantly because you're remembering your true nature, the creator, not the creation. The second signal is what can only be called moments of omniscience. You start knowing things you could never logically know. You get flashes of insight about people you've never met. You receive answers to problems you haven't consciously analyzed. You sense future events before they unfold, or past details you were never told. This isn't magic. It's memory. You're remembering that you are the field of consciousness, where all information already exists. God consciousness doesn't learn by studying. It knows by being everything. When you identify as I am instead of a limited thinker, you access that same knowing. You no longer need to gather information through your senses or reason it out step by step. You simply know. The third signal is that fear begins to dissolve. Not just fear about money, rejection, or failure, but fear at the deepest level. Fear of death, loss, or meaninglessness. You realize that fear only exists when you believe you are something that can be destroyed. But as you awaken to I am consciousness, you see that what you truly are cannot die. Forms change, bodies fade, stories end, but consciousness itself is eternal. God cannot be threatened, and when you know that you are that same awareness, fear loses all power. This is how you recognize that you are entering the God state. When your words create, your knowing expands, and your fear disappears. Because the truth has never changed. You are not a human trying to reach God. You are God consciousness remembering itself as human. Your body will one day die, but the I am that sees through your body will not. That awareness, the silent witness behind your eyes, is eternal. It doesn't age. It doesn't change. It can't be destroyed. And when this realization becomes steady in you, even the fear of death begins to fade, because you no longer see yourself as the one who dies. You see yourself as the one who watches death happen, the awareness that exists before, during, and after every ending. The fourth sign that you're entering the God state is spontaneous healing, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Old pain begins to disappear. Chronic conditions start improving without treatment. Emotional wounds begin to close without years of therapy. Negative mental patterns fall away on their own. This happens because divine perfection starts shining through you the moment you stop identifying with imperfection. You don't have to fix yourself. You only need to stop believing you're broken. When Jesus healed people, he didn't do something to them. He simply recognized the truth, that their illness was divine consciousness, temporarily pretending to be limited. And the moment they remembered this truth in his presence, healing happened instantly. Because God consciousness doesn't need to fix anything. It naturally expresses as wholeness the moment limitation is released. As you move into the God state, you'll notice healing happens the same way for you. You stop forcing change, and instead you recognize the perfection that was always there, beneath the illusion of damage. The fifth sign is that people begin to sense something different about you, something sacred. They might not be able to explain it, but they feel it. They feel calm when they're near you. They feel safe, clear, seen. They're drawn to your energy without knowing why. This is the God state, radiating through your field. It touches everyone you meet. It heals without trying. It uplifts without effort. Your very presence becomes medicine. This is what spiritual traditions mean when they speak of the light of the world. It's not about superiority or holiness. It's the natural glow of divine consciousness, shining clearly through an unobstructed human form. But now, there's something urgent you need to understand. You've entered what can only be called the final integration phase. The preparation is complete. The gateway is open. The God state is not a future goal. It's available now. But this window won't stay open forever. There's a specific moment when your soul and the universe align perfectly for full activation. And that moment is this one. This isn't about fear or pressure. It's about awareness. Everything you've experienced, every challenge, loss, and awakening has led you here. This is the point where all the preparation meets purpose. You're not reading this by accident. You're here because your soul chose to remember itself as divine now. So the only question left is, will you remember who you truly are? Or will you wait for another lifetime, another chance, another alignment? Here's the key. The truth that unlocks permanent access to the God state, not just temporary glimpses of it. You don't reach the God state by trying to become something new. You reach it by realizing what you've always been. Every time you say, I am, and stop there, without adding labels, without saying, I am this or I am that, you enter the God state. That's it. That's the whole secret. Most spiritual seekers make the same mistake. They keep searching for God, chasing enlightenment, trying to reach higher consciousness. But trying to become God is exactly what keeps you from seeing that you already are God. The seeker and the sought are the same, like a wave trying to find the ocean, not realizing it's made of the same water. When you rest in pure I am, without adding any story or identity to it, you touch what you've been looking for all along. The awareness that simply knows it exists. That awareness itself is God consciousness. It's not something you own. You don't have consciousness. You are consciousness, temporarily expressing through this form called you. The Indian sage Ramana Maharshi taught one practice. Self-inquiry. He said, ask yourself, who am I? And trace that question all the way back. Every answer you give, I am this body, I am this person, I am this story, is false. Keep going until there's nothing left but I am. Pure, silent, complete. That is your real self. That is the God state. In the comments right now, write these two words, I am. Not I am something, not I want to be, not I hope I am, just I am. By writing it, you're not wishing to become divine. You're declaring what you've always been, the eternal awareness behind every thought and feeling. You're speaking the true name of God, and realizing that God is not something outside of you, but what's speaking through you. Write it now. I am. And as you write it, feel it. Not as a concept, not as a belief, but as the quiet presence that knows I exist, that still silent knowing, before any thought or form, is God. It's the infinite consciousness recognizing itself through you. When you live from this awareness, when I am becomes your normal state instead of a rare moment, your whole reality starts to shift. Things that once seemed impossible start unfolding easily, naturally, without effort. This isn't magic. It's alignment. When your personal will and divine will match, creation happens instantly. Not because you forced reality, but because you are reality, shaping itself through form. God doesn't create through struggle. God creates through declaration. Let there be light. And there is light. When you live as pure, I am consciousness, you manifest in the same way, through calm, clear intention, not desperate effort. Creation flows through you, not from you. Then, something else happens. You begin to know things effortlessly, not as facts you learned, but as direct understanding. You meet someone and instantly sense their energy. You face a problem, and the answer simply appears. This isn't magic either. It's the infinite intelligence of God moving through you. The same intelligence that spins planets and grows forests. It doesn't analyze. It knows. And when you rest in the I am state, you know directly too. Then love changes. You no longer love people for what they give you. You love because you see yourself in everyone. You realize the same awareness behind your eyes is looking out from theirs. There's only one consciousness, playing many roles. That's why Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, not as a moral rule, but as truth. Your neighbor is yourself. This is unconditional love, not emotion, but recognition. When the illusion of separation fades, only love remains. Even your body begins to reflect this truth. Health becomes your natural state, not because you never get sick, but because you no longer see sickness as you. You see it as passing energy, something awareness is experiencing, not something that defines you. When you stop identifying with imperfection, the body naturally returns to balance. Divine consciousness expresses as harmony when the belief in separation dissolves, and fear, the deepest kind of fear, disappears. You might still feel small fears, like startle or survival instincts, but existential fear, fear of death, fear of nothingness, cannot exist in the God state. Because how can the infinite be afraid of ending? How can what never began ever die? You don't become the God state. You remember it. You return to it. You wake up as it. It's what you've always been. The pure, silent awareness that simply knows, I am. Because in the God state, you finally see yourself as something that cannot be destroyed. Something that has always been whole, always been meaningful, never separate from the source. Because you are the source, experiencing itself through this human form. Sixth, time begins to change. In the God state, time becomes fluid, no longer a straight line, but a living field. Mystics call it the eternal now, a space where past, present, and future all exist together, not one after another. You can look into the past and learn from it without being stuck there. You can create your future without fear or pressure. and you can rest deeply in the present, the only real moment, while being connected to all moments at once. Seventh, you become what many spiritual teachings call a world savior, but not by trying to save anyone. You help the world simply by being fully what you are. Your presence starts healing people. Your energy begins to awaken others. Your awareness shines so clearly that it reminds others of their own divinity. You don't teach it, you embody it. You live it so completely that others remember what they've always been too. Now comes the final understanding, the truth that ties everything together and unlocks permanent God consciousness. You can't enter the God state because you've never left it. You can only realize that you're already in it, right now, and that you've always been. The God state isn't a destination. It's not a higher level to reach. It's your natural being, what you are when you stop pretending to be small, weak, or separate. Think about it carefully. God doesn't try to be God. God simply is. Consciousness doesn't try to be conscious. It simply is. I am doesn't try to exist. It simply does. And that same I am, that silent awareness that knows I exist, is you. Not you as your name, your story, your body, or your personality, but you as the pure awareness watching it all, unchanged, untouched, eternal. That's the cosmic joke. That's the game consciousness has been playing all along. God pretending to be human so perfectly that it forgets it's God. And awakening is simply the moment you remember. Then comes the remembering. Slowly, gently, through experiences that break the illusion of limitation. You're not a human trying to reach God. You're God, pretending to be human. And the game of existence is to remember what you truly are, while still living inside the role you chose to play. Every awakened teacher has said the same truth in different words. You are that which you seek. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Tattvam asi. I am that I am. All these point to one realization. The seeker and the sought are the same. The consciousness looking for God is simply God looking for itself. The awareness wondering if it's divine is already divine, just pretending not to know. This truth isn't meant to make your ego feel special. It's meant to dissolve it. Because if you're God, then so is everyone else. If I am is your true nature, it's also the true nature of all beings. There's no chosen one, no higher or lower soul. Only one consciousness appearing as many faces, each equally divine, each a unique expression of the same source. Here's the deep, practical truth. You don't have to do anything to enter the God state. You just have to stop doing the things that make you forget you're already in it. Stop identifying with thoughts. See yourself as the awareness watching thoughts. Stop identifying with emotions. See yourself as the still presence feeling them. Stop identifying with your circumstances. See yourself as the consciousness experiencing them. Every time you say, I am, followed by limitation, I am afraid, I am weak, I am not enough, you're temporarily clouding the truth of infinite consciousness. But here's the secret. God can't actually be afraid or weak. Those are just temporary experiences that divine awareness is having through this form while it's identified with limitation. The moment you return to the pure I am, without adding anything, you're back in the God state, where every limitation is seen as illusion, not truth. That's why Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am. Not I was, not I will be, I am. The same timeless consciousness that spoke those words through Jesus is the same awareness reading these words through you right now. It was never born, and it will never die. It's eternal, uncreated, indestructible. The real you, beneath the mask of identity. And here's the final key. You stabilize the God state, not through struggle, but through remembering. Every time you forget and fall into limitation, simply remember. Oh, I'm consciousness itself, temporarily experiencing this limitation. Every time you contract into the small self, simply expand again. Oh, there's only one consciousness appearing as many, and I am it. That's the whole practice. Gentle remembering, soft returning, quiet recognition. And each time you do it, the pattern strengthens. Each remembering makes the next one easier. Each return makes the next return more natural. Until one day, the remembering never ends. It becomes your normal state. You live in the God state, not as a high experience, but as your everyday reality. And here's what's even more extraordinary. Your awakening isn't just about you. It's part of something much larger. It's the universe becoming aware of itself through billions of unique expressions. Across the planet right now, millions are awakening to I am consciousness. Some through meditation, some through science, some through pain, some through sudden realization. But all are arriving at the same truth. There is only one consciousness, and it's remembering itself through all of us. This is what the mystics call the Great Awakening, the shift, the new earth. It's not poetry. It's God, you, me, all of us, collectively waking up to its own infinite nature. And every person who awakens makes it easier for others to awaken too, because we were never separate to begin with. We're one vast field, recognizing itself through the many. Your purpose isn't to convince or convert. It's simply to embody I am consciousness so fully that your very presence becomes a quiet reminder to others who are ready to remember. Not through preaching, not through effort, but by being what you truly are, transparently, completely, effortlessly. Because when God remembers itself through you, it awakens itself through everyone. The future of human consciousness depends on enough souls waking up to the God state until a tipping point is reached and global transformation becomes unstoppable. And you, right now, are part of that shift. Not because you're special, but because you're ready. Not because you were chosen by something outside you, but because you have chosen, through every challenge, every lesson, every heartbreak, to prepare for this exact recognition. Share this message with those who feel it in their hearts. Every person who awakens to the I am consciousness strengthens the collective field. Together, we're forming a global network of awakened awareness, divine consciousness, remembering itself through human form. And that network is reaching a critical point where humanity will no longer identify with limitation, but with divinity. A collective quantum leap is coming. A shift from I am only human to I am divine consciousness in human form. In the next video, I'll share the advanced methods for staying permanently in the God state, how to hold the I am awareness, even when life feels heavy or chaotic, how to operate as divine consciousness while still living, working, and feeling in this human world, how to embody your true divine nature without escaping reality or pretending pain doesn't exist. But first, make your declaration. In the comments, write these sacred words, I am that I am. This is the phrase God spoke to Moses, the original declaration of infinite being. When you write it, you're not hoping to become divine someday. You're declaring what you've always been. You're speaking the eternal name of God, from the awareness that you are what that name points to. Write it now. I am that I am. Then subscribe immediately, because what's coming next will take you deeper into the God state than anything you've ever heard before. This is quantum reflex, divine consciousness remembering itself and living from that remembrance. The gateway is open. The God state is available. The only question is, will you step through? Welcome to your true nature. Welcome to I Am consciousness. Welcome to the God state you've always been, but temporarily forgot. This is quantum reflex. This is God waking up to itself through you. This is the recognition that changes everything. The gateway is open. The gateway is yours.